Good evening, everyone. This is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my Sunday live Facebook video. I'm just going to give everyone a few more seconds to join me tonight. Hi, Diane. I can see everybody coming on. So I got to tell you guys, I messed up this week. I had my Step It Up Sunday all ready for today. And it's actually only supposed to be next week, so I'm going to swap my Sundays around. I'm still going to do Step It Up Sunday. And that's where I usually start with a simple card and step it up twice. So I will go back to doing Sunday shares next week. So I'm a week early with my Step It Up Sunday. Just one announcement tonight. I don't have a hostess code for December. Because for the month of December, I always offer 20% off all the orders that come in, only because you guys have been with me all year, and this is my way of saying thank you for being a customer of mine. So if you place an order online, I'll mail you a check for the 20% discount. So just wanted to make you aware of that, and that's for the whole month of December. So tonight I'm going to be using the Beautiful Baubles stamp set along with the Detailed Baubles Thinlits dies. And I'm going to start out with my simple card first. So let me give you the supplies we're using for that. Hello everyone, I can see you all coming on. So glad you're here. So for the card base, I'm using thick Whisper White 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Blueberry bushel. This one is 5 by 3 3/4. Whisper White 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So let me go ahead and fold on the score line. And I'm going to dig out the Blueberry Bushel ink. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue the Blueberry Bushel cardstock. So even though this is a simple card, I'm still using 3 layers of cardstock. So there's layer number 2. Now I'm going to bring in the card to show you what I'm making for the Clean and Simple card number 1. So just one ink color, and then I'm going to use the ink lines to color just a little bit of that in. So here's the Beautiful Baubles. Let me straighten that out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that more towards the top, probably about 3/4 of an inch from the top. Isn't that a beautiful image? You don't really need to do much to it because it's so pretty. I'm going to bring in the blender pen and just grab the ink lines to do the coloring. And you can see that there's just enough there to add a little bit of a light blueberry bushel color. So I'm coloring with the ink lines. You guys have seen me do that quite often. I love coloring this way because it's so subtle. And that's it. Oh, wait, one more up here. Grab these 3 lines. And these little things right here. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna color. Then I'm going to bring in the Deck the Halls sentiment. And that's going to go right below the bauble. And the little bow image is going to go at the top of the ornament. And that's all I'm going to do on that one. Pretty simple. So I'm going to glue that in place with Stamping Dimensionals. So this would be a nice card if you have to make a ton of Christmas cards. This would be an easy one. And you could do any color. I used the Blueberry Bushel, but any color, like Cherry Cobbler would be pretty also. Okay, so there's card number 1 already. How quick was that? Now, don't forget, when you guys share my video tonight, I'm going to place your name in the drawing. Make sure you put the word shared in the comments so I know that you shared it. And I'll draw a name for all 3 cards tonight. Okay, let me set up for card number 2. Now this card, I'm going to have a little bit of embossing. So I'm using the clear embossing powder. I'm actually going to show you a little trick tonight. The embossing that I'm using is actually the blueberry bushel color. So this is stepped up card number 1 from the first card. And all of the images are embossed not using blueberry bushel embossing powder because we don't have that. I'm going to show you how to do that though. Okay, let me make some room. Now I'm using blueberry bushel for the card base, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. So let me go ahead and fold that. I have quite a few layers here on this card, so I'm going to glue some of them down right away so I don't lose any pieces. Okay, now I've got balmy blue. This is 5 1/4 by 4, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that in place. So what I'm actually showing you on this card is how to make your own colored embossing if you don't have a particular color. Oops, I didn't measure this one for you. This is out of the paper packs. This is the Brights, and it measures 4 by 2 3/4, and I'm just going to center that. And let me see what else I've got. I'm going to lay that right there. I want to make sure I'm using the right cardstock piece. So I've got 2 Whisper White cardstock pieces here. I'll show you what I'm going to do after I do my coloring, and then a multi-purpose adhesive sheet. And then the little piece of blueberry bushel for the sentiment, which measures 3/4 of an inch by 3 inches. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that right now only because I'm using Whisper White and it needs a little bit of time to dry. Okay, so see how pretty that is? Just white ink, but it does not dry as fast as our other ink, so I want to let this sit for a little bit. Okay, now how to make your own embossed ink when you don't have a particular color. I'm going to use Versamark and Blueberry Bushel. This is my embossing buddy. I'm just going to put that all over this white piece. This is to remove static. It's also to remove like handling this, your fingerprints might be a little greasy or you might have something on them. This removes that. Now this is Whisper White, which measures 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. Let me bring in a cleaning cloth. I still have not found my chamois. Remember I told you guys I lost my chamois? I did a complete redo in my room and I still have not found it. I think I threw it away. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let me just clean off my stamp. What I want to do is stamp with the Versamark ink first. What the Versamark is going to do is keep, it's going to stay wet. So you're going to ink with the Blueberry Bushel right afterwards. Stamp that on. And right away, I'm going to put the embossing powder over. So see how well it's stuck to that? Now, the only thing is you don't want to mess up your Versamark ink pad. So you need to clean your stamp after each time that you stamp with it. So again, we're going to go with the Versamark Blueberry Bushel. So you can see the light and dark. That's where the powder stuck on. Powder. I'm going to do this 4 times. So again, Versamark, Blueberry Bushel, Stamp, powder, and I'm going to do one more right here in the corner, just a little tiny piece of it. So last one, Versamark. I won't need the whole thing, but I'm going to do the whole thing anyway. Blueberry Bushel, and just a little smidgen in the corner. Now I am going to have to run my heat tool just for a little bit, so it's going to be a little noisy. Once it gets going, it's going to go quickly. And you guys will see how that starts to darken up when it starts to melt. Okay, there it goes. I wish I could fast forward through this, but of course we're live, so I can't do that. We're almost done. Okay, let me just double check, make sure I got them all, and I did. So we now have Blueberry Bushel embossing on our card. And for those of you that have never seen me do this, I do keep my embossing powder in a clear box, and I do put rice in there just to keep the moisture out. And what's nice about it is your card fits inside. You put the powder and it drops back in, so you don't have a mess on your counter. My husband calls me the container lady, and I am. I have a container for everything. Okay, now let me put the ink aside, and I'm going to bring in the mint macaron. Let me just squeeze the middle. Now, I want to talk about our new ink pads just for a second, because I had a customer actually this weekend ask me why she was having a hard time squeezing her ink pads to get ink on the lid. Now, these are brand new. They're nice and tight. It's going to take a little while for you guys to be able to sometimes get ink on the lid. If that happens, let me just get an ink refill. So if that happens and you really want to use the lid, just take an ink refill and just put a drop like that, and you can still use it. But like this one here has loosened enough for me to be able to use it now. They're just nice and tight when you first get them. So now I'm going to use the aqua painter, and I'm just going to color. Now remember that this is now embossed, so the ink is going to resist, right? So there's number one. So with this stepped up version, we're doing the emboss resist technique. Number two, and this is a really quick way to do some coloring because you don't have to worry about going outside the lines. And doesn't the mint macaron look great with the blueberry bushel? I think it's a great color combination. So see how quick I colored that? Really quick. I'm all done. For those of you that have never used aqua painters, now that I'm done, I still have some of the mint macaron ink. So all I do is squeeze, and the water comes out clear. That means the brush is clean for the next ink color. Now this is wet. It's a little wrinkled. I just wanted to show you a little trick that I sometimes use when that happens. So I'm going to flip this over. It should be dry enough. I'm going to bring in an adhesive sheet. I'm going to place that on the back. The sheet is a little smaller. Use the bone folder to burnish. Now I'm going to peel the backing off. Place a second piece of Whisper White that is smaller, and I now have a flat panel. So that's just another little trick to use when you don't want all those humps and bumps from being wet. So now I'm going to glue this in place using dimensionals. Oh, my husband's being funny with you guys tonight. I'd say hi to my wife, but she never sees me. I see you tonight. I see you're entertaining everybody too. Okay, so that's glued in place with dimensionals. Now I'm going to glue my little sentiment that's dry. That's going to go right here, about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of the white. And then lastly on this card, I got the 2 bows that I made with the navy twine. I'm just going to roll my glue dots. And we only have 2 ornaments that have the tops showing. Okay, and there's card number 2. So moving right along to card number 3. So let me set up for that one. So again, we're going to need the blueberry bushel. Now I've got Stampin' Right markers for this one. I've got Balmy Blue, Soft Sea Foam, So Saffron, and Petal Pink. I've got a little bow, and I meant to write down the name of this ribbon. It's not on the, this is the ribbon that comes in a 2-pack, and I can't remember what it's called. For the card base, I have Balmy Blue, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5. And then I've got this from the In Color paper pack. I'm going to use the stripe side, and I'll show you the card in a minute. So you guys, we have some really nice specials coming up for signing up in January. I'm sure most of you guys have seen them. Anybody that joins my team in November, you'll get a free tote and $175 worth of Stampin' Up product instead of $99. It's a great deal. I'll be writing more about it. Okay, now let me show you the card. This is the card, so we're stepping it up. I'm using the basket weave embossing folder on this one. I've already gone ahead and embossed the blueberry bushel layer. And then I've gone ahead and done 5 of the ornament and glued them together. I want to show you another card I had made using this also that was on my blog. So this one also has 5 different baubles, and it does press down flat for mailing. So this is the one I'm making tonight. I've already gone ahead and done 4 of the baubles because I had to cut these out by hand. So I'm going to do one with you. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that with the blueberry bushel. So now I'm using the Petal Pink. And when I'm coloring, I'm not going right to the edge of the blue because I don't want it to smudge on me. So there is a little bit of white space on the edge. And when I'm coloring the smaller images, I'm going really quick because I don't want to smudge anything. Oops, I got a couple more down here. Next is the So Saffron. Now I have a couple of my markers that are starting to go dry. And I'm going to show you guys what I do with them. I was going to do them earlier for my live, but I thought, no, that would be a good thing to show you guys. So my So Saffron is getting a little dry. And my Balmy Blue is getting dry. So I'm going to leave this one out. Now on this one, I'm just tapping around because like I said, I don't want to end up smearing any of that Blueberry Bushel ink. So tonight, instead of coloring with blends markers, I'm coloring with Stampin' Write markers, which I don't do very often. And let's see, I'm almost done with the coloring. Balmy Blue, just the top. See, this is the one that's getting dry. I have to press down really hard to get some ink color. Okay, so I'm going to set these two aside and I'll show you what I do. Now, let me go ahead and do the sentiment. This is on a piece of Whisper White, measuring 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch. Deck the halls. And then I'm going to cut out this ornament. So you just have to watch me cut one. I am leaving a little bit of white space. This is an easy one because it's just round, nothing much to go around. And if you guys have any questions tonight, I'll go back and read your comments. And I'll show you how I revive my markers after I finish the card, just so I don't make a mess. Okay, so let me go ahead and glue the basket weave layer. This is Blueberry Bushel, and it measures 4 3/4 by 3.5. And that's glued down with dimensionals. I thought that was an ornament that I had to move over. Okay, so that one is raised. Now we need to do our little magic with these 5. So let me bring in my score tool. Now, if you've seen me explain this before, I do have a black line going down at the 6-inch mark on my scoreboard. I used a permanent marker to do that. That helps me to line up. So I'm going to put this on here so it's right in the center. And then score it with the bigger ball. I'm going to do that with all 5. I have a line on the 1-inch mark too. I sometimes use that. It comes in handy. Okay, let me make sure I did them all. Okay, there's 4 and this is number 5. Now I'm going to fold all of these on the score line. And next is to bring in the liquid glue. I'm going to leave this one folded. Add glue to just 1/2 of it. Next one goes right on top. Fold that one down, add glue. So you're just gonna add glue to 1/2 at each each time you add a new bauble. And the only thing you need to make sure is the top is lined up as far as where the top of the ornament is. So here, whoops, here's number 4. One more. So these are really quite simple to make. Now let's bring in the card base. Now I'm going to open it up. So see what that does? It's like a little, what do you call those things? Okay, I'm adding glue to the whole thing. Press it in place in the center. Whoops, this one moved on me. Okay, so I've got all 5. Now I'm going to bring in just one glue dot. Add a little bit of glue, liquid glue. Press that in place. And then all I have left to do is to add the sentiment. And that's going to go right below the ornament. And there we have card number 3. So let me bring them all back in. So this was the very stepped up version. This was card number 2. And then card number 1. So now let me show you how I revive an accordion. That's the word I was looking for, Christy. Thank you. Let me show you how I revive my markers when they start going dry. So I'll move all of these aside. I usually use one of these little artist trays, and I add like 3 drops to start with, 3 or 4 drops. So I'm going to do both of these at the same time. And what I do is take the wider end, I just sit it on here. Now it's resting on my iPad. And I'll come back a couple minutes later and this will be all sucked into the straw, the foam straw that's on the inside. And then I'll just add a couple more drops at a time until there's no more that gets sucked up. And that's how I revive all my markers. I mean, it's so easy. So I thought I would give you that tip tonight. Now, let me see. I've got Tuesday techniques coming up on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then for next Sunday, for my Sunday share, which should have been today, Anne asked me privately if I would do a class on the Making Christmas Bright and the Christmas Bulb Builder Punch. So this is what I'm going to use for next Sunday. So that's it for tonight, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my 3 cards. And I hope you'll join me on Tuesday for my Tuesday techniques. So I'll see you Tuesday at 7 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.